Good afternoon. This is John St. Clair, and I'm here at the University of Mary Washington College of Graduate and Professional Studies in the office of Kelly Andrus. And this afternoon, I'd like to ask Kelly how we can differentiate our instruction for students who are having trouble reading.
Typically, the courses that I teach here at CGPS are literacy courses for pre-service teachers, and these are students who currently are not in a classroom. Maybe a few of them are in a classroom. And one thing that is important for me to stress to them is the use of quality children's literature in a classroom. And typically today you see a lot of primary teachers using children's literature in the classroom and across as well in our language arts block as well as their content area blocks. But you see less of that in the upper elementary, the middle school, and the high school level. And what it's important for me to get across to students is the need to use this across all levels. Because at the middle school and high school levels, this helps to differentiate instruction by meeting the needs of the students in a classroom who are not functioning at grade level. And typically our textbooks at those levels are written on or above grade level. And so it makes it difficult for these struggling readers to access the same information that's being presented in the class. And one way to meet that need is using children's literature, and there's lots of titles out there across all content areas that you can make connections with your lesson plans. For example, some titles that I'd like to share today, if you're studying World War II, you could use Eve Bunting's Terrible Things, which is an allegory of the Holocaust, to make those connections for students. And in this story, Eve Bunting uses animals to see the relationship to World War I.
What grade level would you say that was at?
I would say it's at an upper elementary grade level, but the theme, the ideas presented in it are more complex, and so that allows you to use it at the middle school or high school level. Another example, which might be used at the upper elementary level, perhaps middle school, is Detective LaRue, Letters from the Investigation. And so it's sort of a mystery, and the dog uses letters that he's writing between his owner to explain where he's at and what's going on. And in one example of the letter, he's telling the real story, and in the other example, he's using an embellished version of the story. Also, we have Amelia and Eleanor Go for a Ride, and it's based on a true story of Eleanor Roosevelt and her desire to fly, and Amelia Earhart trying to meet that need with her. Enigma is the newest one, just recently out, by Graham Bass, and this is Enigma, a Magical Mystery. And you can see that the writing is more complex, but the pictures are very detailed and have lots of intricacies in them.
One of the things that we learn in education classes is that we have different learning styles: the visual, the auditory, the reading, the kinesthetic. Is the use of picture books a way to reach out to those visual learners?
Yes, it is, because that's what makes a picture book, is the strong relationship between the text as well as the pictures. So you're not only getting the story by reading the text, you're getting the story by looking at the pictures or following the illustrations. This story is Rosa by Nikki Giovanni, illustrated by Brian Collier. And you can see it's got a lot of text on it, so it wouldn't be appropriate for primary age students, but it would be appropriate for upper elementary students as well as middle school students, and the complex pictures that are included with this story.
That story is from Nikki Giovanni, an author that I recognize. I was just talking to Kavadas Newell about culturally responsive teaching, and she indicated that we should do our best to use artifacts and language and labels and materials such as this that would reach out to various cultures. Is this something is this an area where we can reach out and be culturally sensitive by choosing appropriate visuals in our picture books?
Yes, it is. And that's a great comment from you. And Kavadas and I have spoken of this often. And one thing that came to my realization, reading more about being culturally responsive, I thought if I had a lot of Coretta Scott King winners and titles presented in my classroom, that I was presenting a multicultural library to my students, when in reality it was very one-sided or single-sided, because I just was showcasing African American stories or cultures to students. And we need to be aware of presenting various cultures across the world, Africa, Australia, Asia, Russia, South America. And so...
And as a matter of fact, Kavadas was pointing out to me the other day, including reaching out to genders, so to be sure we deal with female heroes and so forth.
Exactly, exactly. And what better way to do this than in our classroom libraries and presenting it to students and reading aloud to students and sharing these with students so that they can experience and making connections with those characters that are presented in the text and the picture books. And this is another example, as you said, that you know Nikki Giovanni, and she's currently at Virginia Tech. Another example from Nikki Giovanni is Lincoln and Douglas, An American Friendship. Also illustrated by Brian Collier. Also Going North by Janice Harrington.